Then I think that's a good question. Like, what's something that newbie directors can focus on? Like you mentioned, working on tone, etc. What's something that they think about when making their own short films to get to the point that you got to? The people are just paying attention. Like you make good films, good short films, make them so good that they can't be ignored, kind of thing. Like, what's some advice towards that?
Yeah, I think. Okay, there's a lot to be said here. So, all right,
Yeah.
do my best. Okay, so like I'd say when it comes to a short, like I think the best thing like that, there's a trick that I kind of trick myself into doing. Like when you have any idea, there's sort of like a window of motivation for that idea. So like it
Hmm.
can come in like a wave. Like you have like all of a sudden like, oh, this would be a very cool short. Like a kid having a glass of milk in the middle of the night and something creepy happens, which is my short. And there's the process of like, oh, there's actually it's pretty simple to make. So I was like, just I need a kid, a mom. So there's two actors, a kitchen, and that's
Hmm.
it. Like that's pretty cheap. Like that's a feasible, like small, contained, simple thing. I can make it for just like a few bucks. Like it seems like something I can handle. Like even if I'd spend a little bit more, I have a little bit saved up from all this like work I've done as a visual effects artist. I can feasibly do this. And as soon as I start working on it, it kind of gets a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And all those like little steps of like, oh, it's easy. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. It got me ahead a little bit. It got me to like that next step. You know what? I could find. Maybe it's not so easy to find that house, but you know what? Maybe I can find that house like next weekend, and I'll bring in my friend who can be a producer on it, and he can. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, you know what? I need a production designer. Oh, I remember this production designer who's awesome from this other short film. Maybe I could just write an email and see if like she's free for a weekend. And then I'm like, oh, and then all of a sudden it's like a 2-day night shoot. Like the budget definitely ballooned, but it just became like a real thing. And you were like, I got to the stage where I was like, I'm gonna do this right, and it's as small as contained as I could be, but I'm gonna do it right. And I think if I did anything larger than that, I would have started suffering in quality and all that because like I, luckily enough, the material was small enough that I was able to spend the money on like making all the other elements really great.
Yeah.
That it allowed it to feel like a really polished piece while it being relatively kind of simple and small. So I think that the thought process should be try to make something that you can do within your means and simple. You will naturally, through your own ambition, make it bigger. It's
Yeah.
just the natural course of things. You want the best. You are a critical person of your own material. You will naturally want to make it better. So kind of help yourself out by keeping it small so that it's feasible, and then through your ambition make it something extra great. And I think that that's a very like good approach that can that can go a long way. It happened again with me for my I made a actually happened to all my shorts. Yeah, I'll run you through it. Like my first short is like it's called film, a little short film that you can actually see online called Intruders. The film takes place. The very first conception of this film that I had was based on a Al Columbia like horror comic, these short paneled comics. I think it's like 8 panels, and it's basically empty rooms of a house and a dead body. That's it. That's the
Hmm.
whole comic. And I was like, I
Okay.
can do this. I just need an empty house and an actress to like lie on the floor dead on the ground. Like that is as easy as it can go. Like that is, I mean, I just need a camera, which my friends have. I'll borrow it and I'll just shoot it over the weekend of an empty house. Like easy, very
Yeah.
easy. And then like a few days, like a few, sorry, not a few days, a few, like I think it was a month before that happened, I came across this other underground horror comic by a guy called Uno Morales, which is this amazing Russian illustrator who made this absolutely horrifying, like 8 panel horror comic about like this kid spying on his neighbors and a woman spots him and like comes chasing after him. I'm like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen as a comic. I need to do this. Like, it is so simple and straightforward in terms of what it is, but it's much more ambitious. Like, holy crap, I have to get a hotel. I have to, get now a woman, but I can maybe use the same kid actor from this other short that I'm planning on doing. And then all of a sudden, it started getting a little bit bigger. And then I made it
Hmm.
like a third act. And then, like, I spent one weekend shooting it because the camera was all there. The people were already going to show up to help me. And I was able to shoot this like rather kind of elaborate short, but based on such like a small germ of an idea that kind of got me moving. And the hardest thing is get yourself moving. It's like get yourself excited and motivated, like riding that wave. Because if you work on something for so long, it can get stale, and you can lose your motivation, you lose your drive, you lose your ambition, and all of a sudden you're like, ah, it's not worth it. It's not, it's not really there anymore. It's stale, and that's hard to do. It's really
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to like maintain interest in your own work, especially when you naturally will become critical of it. And then, for my last short that I did before I got to make this film, I was like the concept of a guy in a hotel room. I was like, again, simple one location, guy in a hotel room. How easy that will be. You'll get a creepy moment with this like phone call, and it'll be as simple as possible. Like I was looking for something simple to do after I had a bit of a wait, and I put myself at small kind of constraints again, trying to be resourceful within the medium, and I start working on it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what would be great if this guy goes running outside of his hotel room and like down the hallway into the elevator and down to the lobby. And I was like, wait, that's really hard. But then I found a hotel that was like, yeah, they're okay with that. And I was like, we can shoot it overnight. They're like, yeah, no problem. And then all of a sudden I can shoot this whole set, like sequence. It's like, it looked great. And it ballooned again because of my ambition for the material. And yet I was still being very kind of thoughtful of trying to be constrained early on, because you do kind of get excited by what's in front of you, and you should jump at the opportunity when it comes. It's hard to know when to go for it and when not. And I mean, I'm one of those people that if like you come to me on set and you say, how about this, I will be the first person to be like, I'm definitely interested and let's explore it. Like I think that's good
Yeah.
process to do. At the same time, I'm also the guy who like does a ton of prep. Like I
Oh, right. Yeah.
prepare myself so much that I'm like, I know exactly what we're shooting, and then someone brings something new. I'm like, that sounds pretty great, and it makes it a little bit cooler. So we're doing that now. So yeah, I think it's healthy to, as a young filmmaker, experiment, be resourceful as best you can while not limiting your ambition, and have the drive to keep going, because it's very difficult to stay motivated in this profession, especially when it can be so many hurdles are thrown at you. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
have constantly barriers to fight. All of a sudden you have like no water on set because someone forgot to bring the water bottles or whatever. There's no bathroom, like, or there's whatever. Like there's all these little things that it makes it hard enough.
Yeah.
So you, like the best thing you can do is sort of like hopefully be smart about that process, at least into yourself. So that's something. I mean, in the case of my shorts, I need to say I was the writer for it, so I allowed myself to do that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know some of your probably some of your viewers aren't, but it nonetheless, I think it still applies to all domains.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, there's no need to limit yourself too much when you're starting out. Like you can think about all the like, oh, well, I want to reach this person and make this kind of thing. But I mean, I honestly kind of miss the days when we were just running around in the woods with a camera
Yeah,
making like these goofy shorts that we're just like we thought we were funny. Who we didn't really care if anybody else did. Like I kind of miss those days, man. Like it's hard to get those back. So there's no need to grow up, so to speak,
yeah.
too soon.
There's the saying of like, just do it. Like everybody talks about just shoot it, right? The idea
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
just go and do, and I think that's very true. I think what's difficult about it is like there's a lot of things that get in the way. So if you take everything and make it bite size and make it something a little bit more tangible, like in my case, tricking myself that it's simple to do, like a kid and having a glass of milk in the kitchen seems
Mm-hmm.
pretty easy. It will become like something that is so big. You're like, how did I pull that off? But by like making it smaller and feasible within your own means gets you moving. You know, the 10-minute increment sort of approach of like you can do small little steps that get you just a little closer is more than trying to do all of it at once. And also gets you a bit of experience while you're doing it. Like you will become more comfortable taking those steps in the future.
Oh yeah.